If you've looked for a recipe on Instagram recently, once you fight through Meta AI trying to shove itself into your search where it doesn't belong, you'll see that it's a lot about protein, like how much you can fit in a snack or in your meal or in your day or in your life. And it's a internet-bred practice ridiculously nicknamed protein maxing. I'm sure you've all interacted with it and have opinions on it, thoughts about how effective it is, recommendations on the protein bar that tastes least like you're biting directly into a piece of chalk. But have we ever thought about it as a diet fad? It's not often discussed this way, but I would argue it qualifies. I guess to claim that, I would have to pin down what the term diet fad really means. And I found a good definition from the American Association of Clinical Endocrinology. I think it fits quite well. Fad diets often promise inflated and or quick results such as significant weight loss and or health benefits. They often require little effort or are based upon pseudoscience. Unfortunately, such promotion may and frequently does hinder education about the overall diet and personalized variations, along with other critical lifestyle changes necessary for sustainable health benefits. Fad diets are promoted as this one-size-fits-all. As long as you make this one change to your consumption habits, you'll start dramatically losing pounds. They do not consider the complexities of individual experiences, the human body, health history, and sometimes proven medical reality. But how and why did these things rise to dominance, and then how do they eventually lose steam? I looked at some diet fads of days past to try and figure this out, including the Atkins diet, which was a mega corporation that got insanely wealthy off America's fears that we were a nation of fatties in the 80s and 90s. It was all the rage at the turn of the century, but you barely hear about it anymore, despite the fact that it laid the groundwork for basically every diet that came after it. This diet had a regimented plan and clear phases that you would move through, and you could even order food from the company to help you get started. All of those foods and all of those rules and all those phases emphasized low carb intake and high protein. Does that sound familiar? Atkins wanted you eating no more than 20 grams of carbohydrates a day, maximum. And research suggests that the average adult should have 130 grams a day for everything to properly function in your body. So just to get it out of the way now, since really everything I'll be talking about today demonizes carbs, I've got a quote for you. Depriving yourself of carbohydrates affects the brain and muscles, which need glucose, the fuel that comes from digesting carbs, to function efficiently. Full stop. Carbs are a vital part of staying alive. Oh my God. Atkins got wildly popular, with 30 million Americans responding that they were following the diet between 2003 and 2004. But this shit fell off, and it fell off bad. Because in 2005, just after this craze, Atkins Nutritionals filed for bankruptcy. A good amount of their profit was made by them selling their food products to help follow their diet. And that was a big reason why they ran out of money, because other brands, when this got so popular, just hopped right on and started making low-carb versions of everything they do, wanting a slice of the, in every sense, metaphorical pie. But by far the largest understood reason for why the Atkins diet fell off is because it was too restrictive and it didn't work. When you cut out carbs like that, in the beginning you lose a bunch of weight, but then as you keep going, your progress slows, and also your life keeps happening. And there's happy hours and dinner dates and birthday parties where you're not going to deny yourself that piece of cake just because your corporate overlord never wants you to eat a carb again. It's Samantha's birthday. And then you lose motivation, and the trend dies. The death of Atkins made way for so many different diets, including paleo, which I'll be honest, I had not really known anything about before I started researching for this, and I wasn't expecting the name to be quite as literal as it is. The paleo diet is an eating plan based on what hypothetically humans ate in the Paleolithic era, which is roughly 2.5 million years ago. And we can dress it up 1,000 different ways, but you people are just afraid of carbs. And this one cuts out dairy too, which is just frankly insane. And beans take a hit. Why deny yourself that chickpea? I think if I couldn't eat yogurt or chickpeas, there'd be no more me. I think that would be the end. Paleo peaked in popularity right around 2015, and despite not knowing what it was, I do remember its name in the culture. It was such a perfect diet for that era in time, very clean eating, no artificial additives, back to the earth, back to our roots, like branding to it, very hipster energy. But under that veneer and all of that branding and all of that marketing, it was really still just about getting skinny. It just wasn't as woke to talk about it like that in 2015 as it was in 2003. While many people tried to eat like the cavemen for a little while, paleo's search popularity took a violent dip after 2015 and has just kept going down ever since. It's the same old story. People stopped paleo because it was too restrictive and it didn't work long term. And you also have to eat cheese sometimes. Paleo was also thrown around as a marketing term on so many different packaged products in the mid-2010s that it kind of lost all meaning. Like, I don't really think our ancestors were eating these. The most recent super prevalent diet in my memory before all this protein shit started happening is a diet that I consider a personal enemy, keto, which is short for ketogenic. This diet was invented in the 1920s as a treatment for epileptic children. And that fact right there should have been the death of it, but nevertheless, it did take an iron grip on everyone in the late 2010s into like the pandemic era. I would say it peaked like 2020 to 2022. This whack-ass diet encourages like a dangerous cutting of carbs and sugar in all degrees in order of prioritizing protein and fat in your diet. And they're doing that in the hopes that you go into a state called ketosis, which is like a metabolic state where your body is burning the fat instead of carbs, but it's doing that because it doesn't have glucose from carbs to function and to power anything. So basically, in like the most medical term, you're starving. You're starving yourself. This diet is insane. The permitted foods on keto are really high in protein and fat, and basically carbs are non-existent, which has led to people eating like a block of cream cheese and a strip steak as a legitimate meal. I've seen people online claim that they eat a stick of butter, but they can't eat a grape because that's unhealthy. Like, look at the foods that are permitted and restricted on keto. If a diet is telling you to avoid fruit, turn the other direction. Research from TasteWise shows that keto on social media dropped between like 18.5% by mid-2025. Restaurants in 2025 are 12.3% less likely to have featured keto items on their menu, and online recipes tagged as keto also dropped in volume. So keto hasn't fully died, but it is dying. And guess what? People aren't doing keto anymore because it's too restrictive and it doesn't work long term. People are actually getting sick, like they're reporting getting ill from nutritional deficiencies while on keto. This diet is a scourge to humanity. It's called the keto flu. It's the fucking devil. I hate this thing. So with keto on the out, we needed a new, fresh diet that could captivate our insecurities and sell us the way to skinny. And protein maxing just stepped right into the spotlight. Originally, bodybuilders and other people hoping to like gain a lot of muscle were eating a lot of protein. And that is because if you're not running a marathon, or if you don't want to lift a big heavy thing or like do some other feat of strength, you don't need 300 grams of protein a day. But social media platforms took this practice and started selling it to the masses. Suddenly, people trying to lose weight are consuming more protein so they can eat less calories and feel more full. A study from the Journal of Nutrition, Education, and Behavior found that 43% of women surveyed are using the practice of eating more protein to prevent weight gain, and this strategy was associated with weight loss. To capitalize on this growing sentiment and popularity, cooking influencers started putting cottage cheese in literally any recipe that popped into their brain in order to make it high protein, and protein bars and powders have just exploded in popularity. What I Eat in a Day videos now tout how much protein was fit into the day on the title card, and this new wellness craze of protein maxing was born. I really think we probably could have considered this year as like the peak of it, like 2025. I mean, Starbucks unveiled that new protein cold foam that you could put on your coffee, which is disgusting and probably not helping their whole brand decline thing they've got going on. But they wouldn't have done that if they didn't think there was a demand. And I feel like people online often dance around the true motivation of eating this much protein. As I said, it's not as openly accepted to emphasize weight loss anymore, but I think we start being upfront about it right now. Most people are eating this much protein to lose weight. Weight loss is often the goal, the objective. I think I wrote this whole video as a way to kind of prove that to myself and others, like, just so I didn't feel like I was going crazy anymore. I mean, look at how similar it is to like the diet fads of yesteryear. It's just not as structured and it doesn't have like a fun name. It's still promising one easy step for weight loss. Eat more protein, so you eat less calories. And brands are catching on and starting to sell products that are meant and designed for people following this diet plan, this diet fad. And if it's a diet fad, then history has shown eventually it will just die out. But I do think that protein maxing was just murdered. A Consumer Reports article from October 15th, 2025, dropped the disturbing findings that for about 70% of the protein products that they analyzed, a single serving contained more lead than food safety experts say is safe to consume in a day. A few of them contain more than 10 times the daily limit. The protein powder that my gym uses, Naked Nutrition, had 1,572% of the daily limit for lead in a single serving. I once paid $11.50 for a shake there, and it had a shit ton of lead in it. How could this happen? Well, the FDA doesn't have shit to do with regulating supplements. Unlike prescription and over-the-counter drugs, the Food and Drug Administration doesn't review, approve, or test supplements like protein powders before they are sold. Federal regulations also don't generally require supplement makers to prove their products are safe, and there are no federal limits for the amount of heavy metals they can contain. This is the result of a large bureaucratic mess, having like vitamins and lobbyists and Mel Gibson. I would honestly go watch the Last Week Tonight feature story on vitamins and supplements to get a better explanation than I could ever provide to you. But basically, all's it to say, when it comes to vitamins and supplements, we are on our own out here. The researchers also said that they conducted a similar study 15 years ago, and right now the results are so much worse. My theory, proven by nothing to protect me legally, this is all alleged, I don't really know what's going on here, but my theory is that to appease the increasingly insane demand for protein products, companies needed to start producing way more in a very short time frame, which could maybe possibly lead them to maybe lower their quality requirements. And these companies might have felt okay to make that decision because they didn't have any federal governmental regulations that they needed to abide by. Please don't sue me. I don't know anything. I really don't have that kind of money. So what do we do with all this information? In my view, acknowledge what protein maxing really is to the culture right now, which is a diet fad, and then act accordingly with how seriously we take this advice. Do what's best for our bodies as individuals, understanding that there is no magic trick that works for everybody. Make healthy choices to keep yourself healthy, which would not include drinking powdered lead. I struggle with it all the time, honestly. Protein maxing almost got to me. I'm just a cheap bitch, and those powders are really expensive. But I try to look to like nutritionists for general health advice, but I constantly have to remind myself that my body is unique and what works for it is unique. My health is a unique balance, and what works for me might not work for you, and vice versa. This essay is also a plea to the public. Please let the protein obsession be over now. We have had the danger spelled out to us, to our faces, by intelligent researchers. Don't let these companies keep poisoning us just so you can get your gains. Delete the macros tracker. Throw the Huel away. It's poison. Eat a piece of bread again. Find some inner peace. Who knows if we'll ever find it? Who knows if we'll ever get there? But at least we can eat some pastries sometimes along the way. Okay, thank you for watching my very first video essay ever. Those who know me in real life know that I am quite the yapper, so I am very excited to see where this goes. Hope you enjoyed. Okay, bye.